Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. After heavy debate, opposition, and criticism, the drafters of the nation-state bill may be rewriting the bill in hopes of passing it into law by the end of next week. The proposed legislation would essentially enshrine much of the country's Jewish identity into the backbone of the country's basic laws. But critics, including President Reuven Rivlin, the Attorney General, and even the Knesset's own legal advisor, say parts of the bill may actually harm the state of Israel. The particular section in question is the 7b clause, which would allow communities to essentially choose who can live within the community based solely on religious grounds or nationalistic grounds. But President Rivlin, in a rare public rebuke, slammed the entire nature of this idea. Rivlin voiced the concern of many who feel that this is nothing short of total discrimination. On those grounds, communities could exclude not only Arab citizens but also other Jews of Middle Eastern descent, ultra-Orthodox Jews, or even members of the LGBTQ community. The Knesset's legal advisor, Eyal Yinon, said that along these lines, Israel's High Court would likely overturn the whole law anyway if passed. This opposition, both internal and public, is probably why the Likud party is considering nixing this particular clause altogether now. Though other sections remain up for debate, including the elimination of Arabic as one of the country's official languages, a new draft of the bill would likely gain more support in the Knesset. With the summer recess set for July 22nd, the Knesset may need that support if they want the bill passed by that deadline. Shaul Elovitch, while a news owner and controlling shareholder of Bezeq, has just reportedly admitted to police that he not only personally requested that news content be altered to be in favor of the Netanyahus, but that he did it at the Prime Minister's request. That being said, he denies any quid pro quo agreement, meaning that there was no understanding or expectation that Netanyahu would return the favor. Rather, according to Israel's Channel 10 News, Elovitch told interrogators that he couldn't ignore the pleas of Prime Minister's wife Sarah Netanyahu and the rest of the Netanyahu family. Quote, "I didn't want to anger the Prime Minister. He was my regulator," end quote. Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is currently suspected of involvement in two other cases, Case 1000 and 2000, has continued to deny the allegations against him. Further, the Prime Minister's attorneys are now alleging that all the cases against the Netanyahu family were conducted under bias. Attorneys Yaakov Weinroth and Yossi Cohen allege that former Deputy Police Commissioner Roni Ritman, who oversaw investigations into Case 1000, 2000, 4000, and the Residence Affair, blames Netanyahu for his resignation from the force. Ritman resigned after sexual harassment allegations were filed against him, accusations that Ritman claims were orchestrated by the Netanyahus. The Holy Land hasn't had a major earthquake since 1927, but after over a dozen minor quakes in just the last few days, Israelis are starting to get a little nervous. Experts say that the Jewish state, which lies right on a major fault line, could be due for another big earthquake in the not-too-distant future. Clearly, the government isn't taking any chances either. The country's finance minister has just committed billions of dollars into shock-proofing the country. Despite decades of warnings, most buildings in Israel are still dangerously underprepared for the potential fallout of major earthquake. 3 years ago, an official internal report said that some 1,600 schools all over the country would be at risk of entirely collapsing. Out of those 1,600, only 53 have been reinforced. The country also lacks basic infrastructure for detecting incoming tremors or relaying alerts. Well, Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon says that the government plans to invest billions in the coming years into making sure tragedy doesn't strike if and when a quake does. A proper budget still needs to be planned and approved in the coming weeks, but with residents in Tiberias literally on high alert for an incoming earthquake, obviously there's some urgency here. This investment may actually kill two birds with one stone, too. While buildings across the country are prepped for earthquake resistance, they'll also be reinforced against rockets and bombs. 500 people were killed in the earthquake that hit the Holy Land back in 1927, and let's just hope that the government can respond before such a tragedy hits us again. In a landmark move, Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan has just announced that he'll be seeking to ease restrictions on gun ownership in Israel. According to Haaretz, Erdan will allow anyone with a level 7 rifle training in the IDF to apply. This applies to all infantry soldiers and other combat units and officers. Likud MK Amir Ohana, who heads the Knesset's gun lobby, approved and updated the new guidelines. Speaking on behalf of the decision, Ohana told Haaretz that, quote, "Sending the citizens of Israel to protect themselves with pizza trays, selfie sticks, guitars, and umbrellas is a crime of the state against its citizens. A law-abiding citizen who has the basic skill required is entitled to be able to defend himself and his surroundings," end quote. He added that a civilian carrying a weapon is more of a solution than a threat, pointing to recent statistics in Jerusalem, and the police largely agree. In response to the new regulations, they only request that the mandatory training courses for gun licenses be extended to 4.5 hours. Other than that, the other requirements essentially remain. You need to be 21 years old, provide a good reason, and owners can only ever have 50 bullets. Further, a refresher course is required every 3 years to renew the license. Over 2 million people have evacuated their homes in western Japan this week as the area gets hit with torrential rains and floods. Nearly 100 people are reported dead, with many more missing. In response, IsRaid's Japan branch has sent in relief teams with first aid and mental health support. According to the team, this is the worst flooding in the area since the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, and according to forecasts, it's not going to end for at least another few days. IsRaid co-CEO Yotam Politzer said that their teams were there in 2011 and have never left. Further, he says that, quote, "Japanese people are some of the most resilient and inspiring people we've ever worked with. We are proud of our Japanese team and will continue to support the affected communities for as long as needed," end quote. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.